May I please invite our first round of panelists, Mr. Matjaž Varič from Flota Institute, Eva Keslova from Berg Orchestra, Petra Slatinšek, Kinodvor, and Slaven Tol from Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Rijeka. So I would like to start this discussion, first of all, on emphasizing that I think all of us here behind this round table are faced with different challenges as a consequence of changing social and economical circumstances. For example, running a creative space like Polygon is a consequence of rising population of freelancers that need to connect, to collaborate, in order to achieve collaborations, to actually start exploring new models that can produce new projects, that can find new audiences, and so on. Kinodvor, for example, is challenged by the declining number of people who are visiting cinemas in Slovenia, in Ljubljana, but it's doing very well in combating this challenge. Then we have here Eva promoting and presenting contemporary and 20th century music, of course challenged by the completely changed circumstances in the music industry in the last 2 decades or so. Matjaž, working on a festival in Murska Sobota, contemporary dance festival in an environment where there are huge layoffs, hard economic situation, and where there is, of course, lack of cultural institutions where people could, for example, experience this kind of culture as we can experience it, for example, here in Ljubljana. And Slaven Tol from Rijeka, where we have seen huge exodus of people in the last 20 years, lots of intellectuals moving out of Rijeka, and again, another challenge, of course, a lot of industry dying, with a huge potential, of course, from an urbanistic point of view, a lot of new empty spaces, post-industrial spaces that can be, of course, used for different kinds of content, art, or maybe shopping malls, as we are seeing. So today, where culture is very well embedded in every pore of our lives, and it has its significant influence on our lives, on one hand, we can see these influences that can be actually kind of measured on the economy, on the social inclusion, for example, on science, health, on all these fields. But in essence, there is this intrinsic value for the consumers of culture that is, of course, this thing that's actually driving us to explore new ways and to experiment and to, of course, also strategically approach these opportunities in order to build audiences. So I would kindly ask every one of you to briefly present your work in tackling these challenges and building audiences. Petra Kinodvor is very well known for targeting different audiences. It has received international awards for education programs for kids. So how are you working on these projects, and how do you see the opportunities to develop audiences in this challenging environment in Ljubljana?
First of all, I would like to say hi and check if you can hear me well, because my voice is not okay. Is it okay? Yeah? Good, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to speak now if no one can hear. Thank you to organizers for this great opportunity to actually discuss what exactly audience development means. And First of all, I have to say that it's really funny situation at this moment because our Kino Balloon program is considered to be a wonderful example of audience development program. But I don't see it as an audience development program. I see it as a film educational program for children that has a goal somewhere else. The goal is not audience development. The goal is to get children familiar with cinema and cinemas. So both cinema as art and cinemas as space. So, and then audience development is just a logical consequence, but it's not a goal. And of course, this means that first of all, we would like to do a quality program that children would enjoy, that their adults would find meaningful, being teachers or families. I think both sectors are very important. And if this makes them being excited about cinema and cinemas, I'm stressing both all the time, even better. But so making them excited is very important, but if this brings them later to cinema and cinemas, it's just a logical consequence and we can only be happy for it, but we are not building up a program with this idea. The idea is to make as many children as possible enjoying art, and depending on which institution you work, with us it's cinemas. But I nevertheless mentioned as many as possible. So for children to enjoy art, I think we have to have a creative team that enjoys art as well. But to make as many children as possible enjoying art, you need public funding. I truly believe in it. I think that only collaboration between creative people and cultural policies that obviously fund to make programs accessible is the real combination. I don't think it's okay if an NGO has to think of how to get as many people as possible. I think this has to be a collaboration with cultural policy to make it accessible. In our case, it's City of Ljubljana who makes our children program very accessible. And if we want to make it really accessible, we have to think of schools in our case, because we need to make cinema familiar to children that might not visit our cinema in the afternoon. So to make it equally accessible and as democratic as possible, we need public funding to make school program as available as possible. And here, of course, we speak of audience development.
Cool, thank you. Eva, Berg Orchestra is specialized in presenting contemporary and 20th century music, often in combination with other art forms like dance, visual arts, and so on. But often you also choose like special, unusual locations. How do you make contemporary and 20th century music cool?
Well, actually, when we started the Berg Orchestra, there was a group of people passionate about contemporary music and 20th century music, and we wanted to share that passion. Because at that time, people thought that contemporary music is awful. And we just wanted to change that perception because we didn't think it was. So we started doing it, we started organizing concerts. And as we were really a small organization, we didn't have anything. We didn't have a big name with us on board, we didn't have a space, we didn't have anything. But actually we turned all these disadvantages into our advantage. So as you mentioned, that we organize our performances at unusual spaces, this was because we didn't have our own space. And therefore, we were searching for interesting spaces where the owners would be open to what we did. And therefore, we became, in a way, cool, and we started attracting people also because of the unusual spaces that we were in. And this helped, of course, with contemporary music. Because, we are, of course, organizing events like concerts and performances. But what we ultimately do, and we all do, I think, in this room, we actually deliver experiences. Because this is why people are coming to our events. And therefore, first thing that we have in mind when we think of an event, could it be a concert or performance with contemporary dance or silent film with new music, we think of an experience that the person, the individual in the audience will have after it all happens. So we try to shape each evening in this in mind. Which means, an unusual space, fine. We put together a program so that it is a holistic experience. We offer an event, an extra event before the performance, for example, a guided tour of the industrial environment of a performing space. The contemporary music is, of course, there, but it's only a small part of what we do. It's like, luring the audience to come because we give them a sausage. We don't give them sausages, of course. We give them other things so that they are more open to actually approach contemporary music. And we have reached that point that I've experienced this from a couple of members of the audience, that they tell us, we don't know the names on program, we just trust you. So people usually come, and usually they keep coming back. As to engaging audiences, of course, this is one of the important things to make them closer to contemporary music. Therefore, we work with volunteers. We actually found out that having professional ushers is fine, but having volunteer ushers is even better because they do it once a month. They really enjoy it, and therefore you can see it in their faces. We also work with volunteers on different levels. For example, when we had a Czech premiere of an interesting work for 100 metronomes, we were collecting the metronomes from the audiences. Of course, we could have collected metronomes from music schools because they have plenty of them. But we wanted individual people to come with their own metronome, with their own, home pet that they are not using probably anymore. Do you know what a metronome is? It's the ticking thing that makes you nervous when you practice an instrument. So we collected the individual metronomes, and people felt proud that they had a performer at home because we gave them back, of course, to them after everything happened. We also needed many volunteers, for example, last Monday when we organized a sound walk as part of our performance. That should have been open air, but it rained, so it was not. But we still have people coming back to us, telling us how interesting the experience was. A sound walk is actually a walk that is intended to make you listen to anything. So engaging audiences can happen on many ways, on many levels. We of course organized a special, well not of course, but we started organizing a listening contest for audiences so that they are more motivated to listen to contemporary music because we think that, kind of making the listening process more fun through the voting process and through the contest could be better than just tell them, okay, listen to contemporary music because it's good for you. Audiences. Also, I just wanted to add, because you mentioned that we organize concerts at unusual places and with other art forms. What we also do is serving as a lab for young composers. This is one of our core missions, so I wanted to stress this out. One of our main goals is to support young Czech composers, and therefore we commission many new works every year and present it within our listening contest that I mentioned. We've been doing this for many years, and we have presented more than 100 new pieces to our audiences. So that's just for it.
Matjaž Farič as choreographer and artistic director of Flota, and of course as one of the organizers of the Fronta Contemporary Dance Festival in Murska Sobota. As a part of Beyond Fronta Bridging New Territories program, which has one of the goals of including and understanding different social groups in the art process. Why choosing Murska Sobota, and what kind of groups were included, of course, in this project?
Listening all the time that number of the audiences for contemporary dance is decreasing, we were thinking how to create an access for the new audience. So we were trying to turn disadvantage to the advantage. I'm coming from Murska Sobota. I was growing up in that town, which is very close to Austrian, Hungarian, and Croatian border. And as you said before, that there are not many cultural institutions. This is not true. There are quite some, but there are public institutions which are doing things their own way, their old way. And as we were trying to start the festival, we were trying to affect the whole philosophy of complaining and feeling sorry for themselves of the people which live in one of the most problematic, economically problematic areas in Slovenia. So looking at the huge area where audience has no access to contemporary dance, we also realized that there's the same situation across the border. So this area, the whole area is on the edge of the country. So it's quite far away from centers. So we were trying also to create a festival that reaches not only to Slovenian audience, but also to the audiences across the border. But first year, we realized that we cannot reach these people because across the border, because they don't trust us, they don't know us, and there's also a language barrier. And sitting at the festival with other dance makers, we realized that we are facing the same problems, that we have to find some solutions. So we realized that we need to start to collaborate, to help each other. And the whole networking idea and this European project idea grew up of the necessity. Of course, when we reach the audience across the border, we realized that there's still something missing. And then we were starting to learn from our partners. So it is very important to not only to present high quality dance production to the audience that has usually no access to it, but you have to be very well of the context of the local population. So we were learning from our partners, and we were sharing experiences. So we were trying to involve more and more and more local audiences, but of course also to share these experiences and to apply them across the border. So as I said, it was very important to collaborate with our partners from abroad to reach these audiences and to learn. And then in this last part, it was very much important to include to create active participation for the audience. So, for example, if you mention to somebody contemporary dance, they all go, "Whoa, what's this? You know, this is something for people that are very well educated, live in big centers, and I don't understand this, and this is something very weird," and so on. But when we succeeded to reach our audiences, and when people came, it wasn't a question. It wasn't a problem that they are not pre-educated, but it was a question of the quality of the dance production. So even in these small places, very difficult, very challenging productions with, I don't know, lots of blood, cavity search and so on, that we were really afraid to present, got better responses from the audiences, that some of the programming that we were calculating that would maybe better fit our audiences. So this means that even if if audience is not so well pre-educated, it somehow recognizes the quality and investment in artistic doing. And I think this connects to what we've been listening before about excitement and about the feeling that audiences need, that they're encountering something extraordinary. But we also have to be honest to them. And it's also very much important that the way artistic work is presented. So to create an insight to the context of artistic work. So there are many layers. Sometimes things that, as I said, that you don't expect that are going to be that are maybe from the presenter side a provocation to the local audience might succeed very well. And we realize that this is also a long-term goal, that there's no easy way to succeed, and that that actually you can never succeed, that you have to work and work and work. You can, if there's work on there's now this term audience development, but our whole project was designed to be kind of audience development, but not with the audience development in our mind, but with this project because it's the DNA of it. So, and I'm sure if we would stop working for a year or two, all the results will be gone. So this is not something that you succeed. This is something that you work regularly on it.
Slaven Toll, as manager of Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art from Rijeka, what kind of challenges are you facing in Rijeka, and on what kind of projects are you working?
I coming from last 25 years. I was at independent scene, and it's completely new situation for me. It's really completely new situation for me. I was like an artist and leader of art workshop Lazareti. Together with my colleagues in Dubrovnik, I produced already 1,000 projects in Dubrovnik. It was performance festival, Quarantena, visual art programs, concerts, theater, and many things. But it's okay. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired, and because I finished 3 exhibitions in last week and 2 European projects, and you understand how looks this. And my English is broken. I am a little bit broken today, but and now I start to. Before 2 years, I start to work in Rijeka, in Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art, and it was a little bit strange situation because I'm an artist. And I came to museum, and this museum was a really important place and gallery during the 50s and 60s. And after that, this space lost audience and energy and importance in local community and in national and regional art community. Let's say I start, it's huge history of this place, but I start from zero with some really good curators, young curators, and but this system it's really strange and context because Rijeka was in really deep crisis. It's worker city, and when Rijeka in this post-industrial story, it looks like Croatian Detroit or something like this. Yeah. And in this context, we're looking for the strategy and and we start, maybe it's, we start with, without any budget. It's, museum have only some basic costs for stuff and basic things. And in this moment we start, it's logical thing, which we start to change things during through the partnerships or collaborations with independent art and culture scene and civil society.
Also,
this last 20 years, it's this independent culture scene was most potent and the communicative part of Croatian art scene, and we will see. It's really, it's. I think it's maybe in this now in this political and economic situation. It's maybe it's responsible. It's a very key word for, you know, if you work in this context where people are really poor and really in troubles. It's this credibility. It's very important things. You know how to because it's we work with public money, and it's really huge. Responsibility for us, you know. It's and it's really important how you work with this public money. Yeah?
Okay, you functions very open. One of the things that I noticed, and which is one of also of the priorities that we at Polygon Creative Center are trying to do, of course, is how to empower creatives and creative communities, how to give them opportunities on one hand to, of course, develop their knowledge and of course to participate in important projects also with social impact. For example, your institution is collaborating with creative communities like Combinat, with public interventions and so on.
Yeah, with Drugomore, with Gallery Seas, in Croatia it's really huge independent culture and art scene, and we collaborate with all region, and because I have really huge. I worked before with this all people before, and it starts to be interesting in this context where the rest and the institutions in Zagreb and centers are completely closed for this kind of programs, yeah, and collaborations. Yeah.
Cool. Matjaž, as working in Murska Sobota, for example, with the festival, do you do any mapping of different initiatives, creative communities, all kinds of communities, to include them in your process, or are your projects trigger from the and kind of bait for them to come by themselves? How is this collaboration with some local actors, of course, important for your festival?
First, our goal was to include local cultural institutions into our efforts. Some of them were really happy to join, some of them were afraid of us, so we were not forcing our programs into their practices. But we can already realize that some changes have happened in the town. For example, the pressure of organizing we started to organize a festival in a sports hall because there was no suitable performing space in town. But this was quite all right because we showed to local decision makers that you need huge space and you can build up the theater. But then luckily local decision makers have decided to rebuild an old cinema from the 50s that wasn't working well anymore into a great new theater. It was a huge investment, and it was done properly because one of the local organizations invited sound engineers and light designers to control how the project was going, so the proper equipment was bought, that the theater was designed as it should be. So this is great help, and I think this is one of the results of our effort to pressure on the local decision makers. How are we reaching different social groups? We are reaching, first of all, we are collaborating with the local, let's say, although they are not underground, but they are considered to be underground youth club MIC. And we attracted quite a lot of people from the hip-hop, hardcore music, underground scene to our festival, because they were our co-producers, and we involved many musicians into our efforts by helping us. This is one thing. Then we attracted also third age populations, for example, Association for Osteoporosis, because it's good, they say it's good to move. So I decided personally to start a series of workshops with them to present them what contemporary dance actually is. And I was really afraid that nobody will appear at the workshop, but already at the first workshop in this small town of 13,000 people, 30 people came, and this group is growing. So things are going quite well. So if you address real people, if you're not addressing just groups, but if you're addressing real people with names, faces, and so on, if you let yourself to speak to them and to let know their personal stories, and also let them speak to you, to tell you the stories, this helps a lot to reach them. It's not enough to try to make a high quality cultural event, but as I said, you need to listen to the local context, to the local stories, and to involve them. But of course, there's one big danger, not to force this active participation on local audiences. This is also one very dangerous stuff when we try to force participation. We have to let them decide for themselves, and they should have some excitement and fun in it. So if they feel only obliged, if you create some kind of tricks to attract them, this is not, well, there are always tricks, but tricks that that you manipulate them. This is not good. You have to give them sensations that they are really participating and that they are part of it.
Cool. Eva, from where do you get funding for your projects?
Well, we of course get public funding from the Ministry of Culture, from the City of Prague. We get smaller grants from many other foundations and other sources. We also have a club of individual donors who send us a relatively small amount every month. But funding doesn't mean only money. Funding means also, if someone gives us a space, if we collaborate on a project with another organization. For example, as I mentioned, the unusual spaces in our beginnings, very often we got them for free because the owners of the space were interested in what we were doing. So we didn't have to pay for the hall, which was good for us, and they had great content. Also collaborations with other, not only arts organizations, but with other organizations in general are great. For example, when we organize a silent film series with new music by young Czech composers, we've been doing this since 2009. Well, biannually, let's say, with the Jewish Museum in Prague. They give us space, they collaborate on promotion, they pay for certain things, and together we have a great event. We have double the audiences we can present the project to. We also collaborate with dancers, and the creative process that we engage in with other arts organizations is also, helping it.
On one hand, would you say that audience development and your striving to attract people and to promote certain music and so on is one of the key points for your fundraising also?
Yes, of course. This is the core of our mission, to engage audiences with contemporary music.
And how would you say collaborating with, for example, dance collectives and other participants in your events, does this also generate additional public? Do their followers also come to your events? Do you see here beneficial?
Of course, we always envied the dance groups, the contemporary dance groups, how cool they could be, the naked bodies and everything, and imagine, a musician, sitting there, maybe even a little bit fat, the visual component of dance, we really like dance, is much more appealing than music. Of course, we wanted that audience, but sincerely, the dance group has its own audience. We have our own audience. And if you put these together, you can maybe make 2 or 3 performances of the same work, which makes sense economically, and you actually you give experiences to more people, which we like. So, yes.
But how would you describe your public? Who are they?
Okay. Well, our public is varied. We have really full houses, sometimes standing room only, we succeeded in attracting large audiences, and I'm very proud that they are so varied. We have like very old people in the audience, but also young children in the audience, in the same audience. We have people who are curious. I think that curiosity is the main component of their, you can describe it with this. So people of all ages, we have many scientists in the audience. I can recognize it from the email addresses, you know, because you can see Academy of Sciences very often. So, how would I describe the audiences? They are curious, for sure, and they want to see new things. And you know, hear new things. Curiosity.
Cool, Petra. Kino Dvor, I think it's a really great example, not just from the cinema point of view, but also as a cultural institution that really addresses different audiences in Slovenia. You have like these special movie projections for young mothers. Also, you have like breakfasts where people can come and see a movie. So. Is this primarily kind of a wish of community building for Kino Dvor? Of course, how do you see this role of building a community and including different target groups, I mean audiences, in what you do at Kino Dvor, of course, and from the point of view that events are the ones who are actually triggering the visitors to come to Kino Dvor?
Yes.
Also, besides, of course, the great program that you have.
Yes, I think that it's a combination of several things. One is definitely event type of cinema. It's every international conference related to cinemas nowadays is stressing you have to make events, you have to relate yourself to new media, you have to relate yourself to music, to visual arts. You have to think of different generations. These are all general recipes, and yes, they really work. Event-based cinema is very crucial, not to leave one title on the program for 4 weeks, but just 1 week and then change it and make the most out of it in this 1 week. Second one, as you mentioned, is to think of the audience as audience of different generations, starting with parents with small babies and then parents with toddlers. They need babysitting to go to the cinema. And then a children's program, and then a program for youth and students, and discounts for them on special days. And then the active population, all of you are our audience, I know. and then the older people. So one thing is events, the other thing is generation. But there's the third part that it's actually the most creative part of our work, which is different interests. It's not related to age. It's not related to the fact if it's event-based or just a regular screening, but trying to figure out different interests. And here we are very lucky because we can take each film as a starting point to think of interests of people. Okay, we have this title. Who could be interested into this title? What can we do? And we try to find interest groups. And for that, we have to have a creative team, but we also have to have an excellent database. I must say that without our database, it would be a lot harder. It's just a few intelligent clicks and you get interests of people joined together. But it's not, of course, that mechanical. The creative part is also very important. And so we can get very, very different audience, no matter which generation they are, but the type of the film also directs who is going to come to the cinema.
Okay, your practice has been awarded with several awards, I can say, but also you as a member of board of directors of the European Children's Film Association. How do you see the situation here in Slovenia and what you are doing, and what other partners, of course, in this in Europe are, how they are developing their projects?
In a sense of programming, or
in the sense of audience building, and as of course are, for example, your project that you are doing here and get awarded. Of course, you're lecturing, I guess, about them.
Okay.
Do they get transplanted or implemented in also other institutions?
We work very intensively now with Croatia. They tried to, and I think they did, applied our program there, and we had a lot of discussion. But looking at the Europe, there are, well, film education has different traditions. French tradition is very different from British. And generally speaking, I would say that some of the programs are very much focused on the quality content. Some of the programs are more focused on attracting as many audiences as possible, or to think of the quantity. And I think that, and then there are programs in between like ours, and we're totally not the only ones, and I think it's a lot of European programs that work in a very similar way, that try to be both. They try to catch the quality content as a starting point, as the essence of the program, but still thinking of how to reach as many audiences as possible. So I don't think we are very exceptional on European level, but we are an example of a good practice also in international level, but together with many others. And just now, through Creative Europe, we got funding. We are joint partners of the project that is led by British Film Institute, and it's 20 of us together, and we will actually, and our project is not about quantity, it's about quality. We will have several seminars and try to figure out those models. What kind of models of audience development programs, or I call them film literacy programs, are existing? What are their methods? And why is one program choosing this method and not some other kind? So we will try to reflect our own work. So maybe I would be able to position our program within the European map much better in a year, because only now we will have an opportunity to really go deeper and try to understand what do we have in common and what are the differences. So I'm very glad that Creative Europe understands that audience development is not just about new audience and more audience, but that development is also understood in a quality way, not just the quantity. And by supporting these kind of projects, they really show that they understand that the quality also matters, the quality of our work, and actually getting funding for something that has no bigger outcome, like a website, like a festival, but just giving us experts in film literacy opportunity to meet and reflect our work definitely brings something to audience development in a quality sense in a long term.
And of course, the audience is consequence of the quality. Slaven, what is your view on this overemphasizing audience development in all the funding programs, and of course the pressure from the stakeholders, build audience, get visitors to the museums and so on? Or are there also other components, elements, which can of course should be stressed out as much as important in this, from this point of view?
It's a problem because it's, I think it's in this European project, it's a little bit, they ignore local community and very important topics in local context. Yeah. And because that you have many fakes projects, like, and it's huge production of a project like this. I have some examples from our program too, because it was a huge topic, some work and workers, now it's immigrants or something like this. And you have many artists who are really professionals, and they produce some informal way really good work. But they forget the next step, and they working with people like in zoo. You know, they ask people in the factory for collaboration. They shoot movie and they leave. And at the opening of exhibition, they forget to invite these people to the opening, you know, and because it was they produced this for abroad, yeah, for some, and it's a little bit it's a really boring situation. You know, there are many artists work only illustrations for some topics, projects, or theory, and but it's we start to discuss this. We invite artists, we invite local community, we invite people, not audience, we start to work in the street. This is Palica project and project for public space with some really interesting topics who are related with local problems and local society. And I think it must be it's good way, because it's way how to make credibility for the our job, yeah? And cool. Projects.
Cool. Another thing, of course, that might be interesting is, what are the fails that you have learned from? Are there any experiences that really were most, for example, interesting from that point of view, that something that you predicted actually failed, but you learned something from it?
Well, we try to prevent failures.
But also failure can be also a very nice
yes, of
experiment.
Course. For example, from one project, we learned that collaboration with theatre people has to be curated very well, because the musicians' world and theatre world are totally different. You know, theatre people, if a rehearsal starts at 10, they only start coming at 10. Unlike musicians, if the rehearsal starts at 10, they have already tuned their instruments and they are starting. And they work in an intense way. So, you know, we have 10-minute breaks, and otherwise it's intense work. Unlike theatre people, they like somehow, you know, to move around. Something is happening, and at the same time, nothing is happening. And putting these two worlds together was very difficult. So we had one difficult experience, and after that, we knew that we have to prepare both sides for the process, so that when they really come together, it works.
Cool.
So.
Cool. Matjaž, would you say that you have any interesting experience?
Everything what we do is a failure at the beginning. You know? It's because we are really trying to change the way we the things are done, and then in many times it happens that you're not very well prepared, but you learn quickly, and we learn also from our partners. And I would like to add to the previous question. That was it happened that there was one very nice failure, actually. We were trying to attract more older people to contemporary dance, but through active participation, it happened that their grandchildren started to come to contemporary dance. This happened through the fact that, when grandma is dancing, and then by coincidence, I chose a music from the band that is called Hex and Brutal. It's not brutal music, but they are called Hex and Brutal. And then the grandchildren hear that grandma is dancing to Hex and Brutal. This is something cool. We have to see this. And then they come to the performance. And first time they come, they also stay for the later program, which brings professional production. And when they see it, they find cool, and they keep coming. So actually, through trying to attract more third age population, we attracted more younger population, actually. But we also realized that there are differences, because we've been exchanging these experiences with our partners. There's a similar group in Oberwart with our partner organization's Dance Identity from Oberwart. Their group is called Body Focus Group. It's not only third age population group, but there are normal people, not artists. And also, we were exchanging experiences with Greenwich Dance, which has joined us in the second phase of the project. And I've been leading workshops for the third age population at Greenwich, and I realized that there aren't that much differences, but there are some special feeling, because I was asking myself, how is this going to work in London, Greenwich, because it's a huge metropolitan area, and then I realized that it's so big, so many people that actually have to work on a local level, like you would work in a village, because you cannot access how many, 14 million people are there in metropolitan area, something like this. So it's impossible to reach them all. You have to focus on smaller groups to be able to. But as I said, starting this festival, it was utopia at the beginning, and we failed because there was only 5 people sitting inside. Then next year, when we started to exchange audiences with buses with our partners from across the border, our audiences were traveling all year round to Croatia, Austria, Hungary, and so on. This also helped us build the audience, and so we've been building this step by step. And maintaining what we reached already, because things are easily gone. And we are making many mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes was that we've been we were sure that we are working in accordance with National Culture Program, and we were, but our government, Ministry for Culture, didn't think that way. So in the middle of coordinating of this last project, our budget for audience development and all the supportive actions was cut. So this is also one of our failures, because we haven't persuaded them that this is necessary to exist. So I think you have to work with audiences, you have to work with funders, and you have to communicate all the time. It's not good that you do a good job. It's very much important how you present it as well.
Yeah, I think that the luxury to be able to actually have a failure is a very important part of the creative process. If you are afraid that you fail, you won't dare to do something very interesting. So, yeah.
Petra, for example, you have a lot of experience with financing different EU projects, partners, and so on. Do you think there is enough space in such programs that have to have this strategic plan, planned well ahead in time also, and with different partners, that there is enough space still for experimentation and of course potential failure that can lead to to new horizons and new ideas and so on?
Yes, of course, because I think that part of being creative is also means that you have to experiment and innovate, and then you take a risk for failures. Of course, I'm very happy when I learn something from our mistakes and try not to
is it also understood by the stakeholders, by people who finance you, I mean the institutions and so on? Or is it sometimes tricky to, from the bureaucratic point of view, to somehow...
No, because we, as public institution, we still have an autonomy. So, of course not. We are not under Big Brother that would be watching our failures, not at all. So, of course, we have a freedom of trying things and learning from them. And I think that a lot of our failures are... The positive ones that bring new solutions are related to PR, actually. You think something will work and it doesn't, and then you sit down and you wonder why, and you learn something from it, and you try to have it in mind next time. And one of the recent failures is Facebook, because we thought that if we would publish photos and links and trailers, our visibility on our users' wall would be a lot lower, but then you have less likes. So it doesn't really help if visibility of one sentence that you post is very big if there are no likes. So this was a real failure. Okay, now we have to use it as a media, really as a media to communicate with our audience and post interesting interviews, post interesting facts that you cannot post on your website. And okay, visibility will be lower, but if likes will happen, it will actually raise. So and then we another failure in PR, and it's all related to new media. we decided to make a new website just in the time when smartphones came out, but we didn't include them in the sketch. So try to see Kinodvor website on your phone. It's terrible. So we have to work on it, yeah.
Audience, questions, please. Microphone, sorry.
About failures, how we need to have guts to do new things. But what I have been wondering is, do you pre-test the things? Do you pre-test it? If we talk about consumer-centric models, and if we do experiment, or
you mean like test groups, talking to people?
Yeah, talking to people, just test the ideas, what the interest, like the failure would be less.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For example, we are a very small organization, so we communicate with our audiences on a constant basis. Like people after the event, they send us emails, what they liked, what they didn't, so we have a constant focus group, let's say, and we also ask people, we ask them to tell us what they think, and for example, at the end of each event, I stand at the door, saying to people, good night, goodbye, and many of them, because, they see me before the concert, because I welcome them, so they are willing to stop by and share the immediate experience. This is our goal, so that the people feel safe, they feel welcome, and then they are not reluctant to tell us what they think, even if they think something went wrong or something they didn't like. They know that we will welcome any reaction. So yes, of course.
Questions? No questions. Come on. There is a question?
I had a question about promotion, because from all your testimonies, it seems like you try to focus more on the work with the community and create trust with the people you work with your audience. And maybe in terms of promotion, do you count more on your audience to promote for you what you do, or do you have new ways of thinking promotion? This is my question. Thank you.
This year, Festival Fronte was very successful in terms of numbers of the audience, but we have had very little money because our budget's been cut, and we haven't invested a lot in the promotion. But we realized that it was the result of working in audience development programs from previous years. If you're doing a promotion, you have to compete with so many, for example in Ljubljana, you have to compete with so many other cultural organizations that have great ideas. Everybody has great ideas. Then you have to compete with this corporate advertising that has sometimes unlimited budget. Then you have to compete with political parties that have all of the media attention for every nonsense they do. So it's impossible to only think the classical way of PR. For example, in the year of 2012, when we were part of a cultural capital in Maribor, we had quite a big budget for the promotion, but it didn't help a lot. It didn't help a lot. So doing only the promotion without thinking of promotion, without all of the other aspects of creating artistic events, it doesn't help.
For example, our budget for promotion is limited to almost zero. We don't do much print. We really engage audiences. That was the case with the metronome thing. If you think that you need 100 metronomes and we collected many more, each owner of the metronome is your ambassador in a way, because they will come to see the performance and they will tell their friends. So of course engaging audiences into your promotion, well, you don't force them, but they do it happily.
Maybe it's I want to explain through the one example. Then my last project was in Dubrovnik, and we made one mess, let's say, in the city, because we invite some artists and some people from local community, and we made project Cities Dead, Long Life to City, because its context in Dubrovnik really looks like this. The city is really dead. Dubrovnik looks more than like destination now than city, and it's full. And in the season, it's full of tourists, you know. And we made a project without any invitation and PR, and in this mess of 3,000 tourists from the cruisers, because that I like more term people than audience, because it's. We work directly with people, you know, and with this topic, and I think it's really important. I was really happy when we made one exhibition this year. It was extravagant age. It's about third age and old people, and we invite this huge community of old people in museum, and finally they curate exhibition from our collection. They made many projects together with people from museum, and finally I was really happy when one old lady, it's 102 years, he celebrated birthday day before. He was first time in museum in her life, and she said to me, "Thank you, because it looks I miss something in my life, you know." And it was this everyday communication and work.
Cool. Any more questions? If not, what you just told us also reminded me of a very nice project that my dear friend Dejan Srhoj did this year on the island of Hvar, in a very small village on the Hvar, where there is an old abandoned school, and he's planning to do dance workshops, to have some kind of dance space there where international artists could come and so on. And of course there was a question how to introduce this kind of artistic input in the village, how to introduce it to the locals who are of course not familiar with this kind of art forms. And this year he organized a photo session. A very famous Croatian photographer came to this village and took portraits of every inhabitant of this small village. So as a launch of his contemporary dance workshops, he actually made exhibition of portraits of everyone from the village. But everything didn't go smoothly, because they also made a poster that would announce this exhibition. And on the poster there was one woman from the village, and as soon as her sister saw her on this poster, there was a huge incident. Of course, she said, I forbid you to use my sister to promote this exhibition. She has this hen in her lap. How would she look, and so on, what the neighbors would say, and so on and so on. So there was a big dispute already before even the exhibition opened. But as soon as, of course, then the posters were removed and so on, but then as soon as the exhibition was opened, everybody came, checked their portrait because they haven't seen them before, said, okay, I'm okay, cool, and it was a social moment also for the villagers and also for the tourists and everyone from the islands of Hvar, and this is how it began. I mean, the process of bringing, of course, art in this small village on the island of Hvar. So, if there are no more questions, I would conclude this discussion and have coffee break.